When Maxine Waters took on Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, what followed wasn't just disagreement, it was a tense, rapid-fire confrontation over tariffs, inflation, and the real cost to American consumers. And within minutes, the hearing room turned into a battle over facts, control, and who gets the final word.
Now recognize the ranking member of our committee, Mrs. Waters of California, for 5 minutes for questions.
Thank you very much. Secretary Bessent, in the FSOC annual report, you stressed the importance of economic growth to promote financial stability. While you noted many ways you plan to deregulate Wall Street and plant the seeds for another crisis, you said little about the harms of inflation. I find this odd as the president and you have finally began discussing in the media how the price of goods are way too high. Notably, you mentioned that tariffs may need to come down to lower costs for Americans. So I have a few questions about this. As a former hedge fund manager in 2004, and I don't want you to go into any long details about this, but did you write a letter to investors raising concerns about the impact of tariffs, writing that, quote, tariffs are inflationary? Did you say that at that time, yes or no?
No.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we have a New York Times article that, agrees that you said
New York
that.
Times.
Then last summer, when you testified before a Senate committee, you said, and I quote, there is no inflation. Tariffs are not being passed on to consumers. You were quite definitive and even claimed that critics had, quote, tariff derangement syndrome. Well, those comments are at odds with the statement you made to investors that tariffs are inflationary. Again, I want to be clear, so just let me ask you, are tariffs inflationary, yes or no?
According to the San Francisco Federal Reserve, with 150 years of data,
yes or no?
Tariffs do not cause inflation. San Francisco Federal Reserve.
Well, last November, as the Trump administration finally began to realize that affordability issues in America are not a hoax, you told Fox News that the government was going to reduce tariffs on goods like coffee and bananas, and that doing so would, quote, bring the prices down very quickly. Mr. Secretary, why was that announcement even necessary? If tariffs aren't inflationary, and as you and the president like to say, are paid for by the foreign country, a tariff on coffee or bananas shouldn't raise the price of either for American consumers. Well, that's the Trump logic, but that isn't reality. It did raise prices across the board, and you know it. I think you knew back in July also. The real question is, why would you even impose a tariff on a good that a country doesn't grow or make, as that would only serve to punish the American consumer? Now, as you know, this committee has taken a bipartisan approach to addressing another real affordability crisis. Housing. Rents are too high. There aren't enough houses. However, one clear reason that the housing crisis has grown worse is that you and the rest of the Trump administration levied tariffs on housing production goods like lumber and steel, as well as appliances. These tariffs will result in half.
Lumber is
reclaiming my time. You don't get to talk.
Lumber is at a 5-year low, Congresswoman.
Reclaiming my time.
Let's just have the facts.
Reclaiming my time. Thank you. However, one clear reason that the housing crisis has gone worse is that you and the rest of the Trump administration levied tariffs on housing production goods like lumber and steel, as I said, as well as appliances. These tariffs will result in 500,000 fewer homes built at a time when we need more homes built, not less. Trump single-handedly made housing more expensive. And once again, you know it, as Axios has reported that you were planning to lift tariffs on housing production goods. In addition, the unlawful campaign the Trump administration has waged with ICE and Border Patrol, terrorizing American communities, has also harmed home construction across America. So I ask you, Secretary Bessent, will you be the voice of reason in the administration and urge Trump to stop waging a war on American consumers and on housing or affordability and putting the economy at risk? Yes or no? You don't have to explain.
Representative Waters,
will you be the voice? Will you be the voice? Will you be the voice? Will you be the voice of reason? Will you be the voice of reason?
A study from Wharton University
reclaiming my time. Reclaiming my time. Reclaiming my time.
Was the mass unfettered immigration.
Mr. Chair, will you let him know that when I ask
time does belong to the gentlewoman from California.
10 and 20 million immigrants.
Can you
took
shut
up the
up?
housing stock of working Americans, and can you maintain some level of dignity?
Gentleman's time has expired.
No, my time has not expired.
Your time has expired. And the
The
gentleman,
gentleman took up my time. I think you should recognize that, Mr. Chair.
the gentlewoman's
He took
time
up
has
my
expired. The gentlewoman's time has
Well,
expired.
if you
Mr.
wanna-
Chair, parliamentary
If you
inquiry.
wanna protect him,
The chair
Mr.
recognizes the vice chairman of the
Mr.
committee,
Chair.
Mr.
If you
Heisinger.
want to
Parliamentary inquiry.
go right ahead, but I would not expect you to do that.
From the very beginning, Waters set the tone. Sharp, direct, and unapologetically confrontational, she zeroed in on what she saw as a contradiction in Bessent's past statements about tariffs. On one hand, there were claims suggesting tariffs don't drive inflation. On the other, references to lowering tariffs to bring prices down. That inconsistency became her opening line of attack, and she didn't let go of it. Bessent attempted to anchor his defense in economic data, citing long-term research and Federal Reserve perspectives to argue that tariffs are not inherently inflationary. But Waters wasn't interested in a lecture. She wanted clarity. Yes or no. Simple answers to what she framed as simple questions. And every time Bessent tried to expand, she cut in, reclaiming her time and tightening control of the exchange. That dynamic, control versus explanation, quickly defined the entire encounter. Waters used procedural authority to dictate the pace, repeatedly interrupting and redirecting whenever the response drifted from her line of questioning. Bessent, meanwhile, tried to push back, inserting counterpoints about housing data, immigration, and broader economic factors. But the more he spoke, the more the tension escalated. The clash intensified when the discussion shifted to housing. Waters argued that tariffs on materials like lumber and steel have directly worsened the housing crisis, reducing supply and driving up costs. Bessent attempted to counter with market data, but again, he was cut off. At this point, it was no longer just a policy disagreement. It was a struggle over narrative control, with both sides trying to define reality. By the end, the hearing had clearly moved beyond economics into something more personal and political. Interruptions overlapped, voices rose, and even the chair had to step in as decorum began to slip. What remained wasn't a clear resolution, but a vivid display of how deeply divided perspectives on the economy have become, and how quickly those divisions can turn a formal